Evening panel. Earlier this week, Senator Bragg floated the idea of a second early release of super to help those struggling with the COVID-19 pandemic. The last time this happened, there was an uptick in spending on non-essential items like gambling and alcohol. Knowing that this has a major effect on the long-term wealth of those who take the money out, is this the best option we have for dealing with the pandemic?
On that point, Sen, I will come to you first of all. Nearly half of those who got access to their super last time around, they saw no drop in their income during COVID, but they took it out anyway. And as Daniel's just said, nearly 2/3 spent it on alcohol, gambling and clothes. So you want us to have another dip?
Well, Virginia, we have a $3 trillion superannuation system where you see $30 billion in fees go out every single year. Now, as we face this economic shock, I think it's only appropriate that the super funds should be able to help Australians if they want to do things like pay down mortgages. Now, last year when we had early release, 60% of the money taken out was used to pay down debts like mortgages. So
would you put some restrictions around it? Would you put restrictions around it, given that we saw how much of that was spent on stuff that was not necessary in a pandemic? Would you put restrictions around it?
Look, I'd be very happy to do that. But the point is that it's the people's money, right? So if people want to pay down their mortgage, they should be able to do that. It's an economic shock. It's their money.
I know Chris Bowen's champing at the bit to speak to this.
I'm sure.
Mohammed, is there anything you want to add in here?
Just about the last two questions together. Look, Australia is an incredibly fortunate country. It can afford to look after all its citizens properly, and so that's what we should do.
Yeah. Chris Bowen?
Yeah. I agree.
It's a terrible idea from Andrew. It is frankly offensive. I think it's morally bankrupt. The Liberals, and Andrew in particular, seem to have one solution when anybody's doing it tough: make them mortgage their future. I think it was outrageous that Andrew actually took ads out during the last lockdown and encouraged people to access their super. You've got 500,000 people who've got their super down to zero as a result of the last change. If you're doing it tough now, you should not have to raid your retirement income to get food on the table now. That is morally offensive. The only worst idea I've heard is the Liberal government policy from a few months ago to encourage victims of domestic violence to raid their own super, which they were forced to back down. This is utterly outrageous. Superannuation is for a dignified retirement for all Australians of all incomes, workers included, and to force people or encourage people to live now to raid their super is morally reprehensible, and it is absolutely outrageous that Andrew was encouraging people to do it.
All right, I'm going to come back to the Senator for a right of reply, but Deborah, Cheetham, I did want to ask you, what does the average super fund of an arts industry worker look like?
Very slight, I would say. And I would also make the point that I am the first generation of Aboriginal citizens of this country who will live to claim their super, or at least I hope, if I survive Q&A this evening, that I will live to be able to...
You're doing all right so far.
That I'll live long enough to be able to claim super. So not everybody has enjoyed superannuation in this country. And for First Nations people, this is something new. This is something to look forward to. And I think, in a way, also I'd say this dipping into super now, I think that disadvantages young people in yet another way.
Andrew Bragg, it seems friendless here on the panel tonight.
I'm not surprised.
Do you want to have another go at defending it? Well, I mean, you'll have to make the case that it's really necessary. The government, as you noted, is pumping a lot of money into supporting people, and that's been justly celebrated, and that's a good thing that the government is doing that. But going one more to the superannuation after what history has already taught us about it?
Well, because superannuation is the people's money. It doesn't belong to the super fund managers or to the unions or the banks.
It's the people's money for the future, not for right now.
But it's their money, and if they want to pay down their mortgage because
so it's not superannuation then? It's not super. It's something else. It's just a slush fund of money that you have there.
Well, as you know, Virginia, I mean, fewer and fewer Australians will be able to afford a house. And one of the things that can be done with super is for people to pay down their mortgage. So that's what happened last year when we had early release. So I just think if people want to do that, why would we deny them that opportunity? I mean,
so rather than dealing with housing affordability, you actually get rid of your money for retirement.
Well,
you can't have both.
It's their money. It's their money. I mean, this paternalism, I think, is very dangerous.
I know Clover wants to say something here.
Oh, well, I agree with what Chris Bowen said, and also I think governments should have policies about affordable housing.